All right, what you should be doing right now is before you even start this, make sure you go to desmos.com and type in each of these equations and go ahead and sketch a little graph for each of these. So if you haven't done that, pause and do that first. If you have done that, let's go ahead and check your answers really quick. The first graph, our vertex should be over here on negative 2, 0. And our second graph, our vertex should be on positive 2, 0. And this third graph, we should be at positive 4, 0. Essentially what's happening is inside my parentheses, I have a number, x plus 2. For some reason, moves my graph to the left 2 spaces, not positive, but the left goes down to negative 2. So what we're going to do is let's write down at the bottom down here. Write down at the bottom down here. When we have this vertex form of an equation, and I have a number in this H spot, right? My vertex actually perfectly corresponds with this H and K. And that this number in that x minus h squared spot, I can zoom that in, moves my parabola either left or right. And I have that nice example from above where if I have x plus 2 squared, that actually moved my vertex 2 units left. And so my vertex was at negative 2, 0. And if I had that other situation, x minus 2 squared, that actually moved the vertex 2 units to the right. And my vertex was positive 2, 0. So essentially, my x value is always going to be the opposite of whatever's inside those parentheses. So if I have a positive 2 in parentheses, my x value should be negative 2. If I have a negative 2 in parentheses, my x value is going to be positive 2. Now with the k, let's talk about these 3 on the bottom down here. If I have x squared plus 3, that actually moved my vertex up 3. But if I have x squared minus 5, that moved my vertex down 5. I'm at 0, negative 5. So at the very bottom, let's go ahead and write a little bit about how k moved. K moves my parabola up or down. And in the case of x squared plus 3, it moved the vertex up 3 units to 0, 3. And when I had x squared minus 5, it moved my vertex down 5 units to 0, negative 5. So in other words, H, we use the opposite, is going to be my vertex. Positive 2 in my equation is going to be a negative 2 in my vertex. And my k value, my y value of my vertex, this one, I'm going to keep that sign exactly the same. A plus 3 means I'm going to have a positive 3. A minus 5 means I'm going to have a negative 5 in my equation. Now, the one I do want to revisit and talk about is right here. I have x minus 1 squared plus 2. That minus 1 in parentheses, that's the h part of my vertex, the first number in my vertex, the x value of my ordered pair. But it's not a negative 1 here. It's actually a positive 1 as my vertex. So I'm essentially using, let me write this, use opposite sign of h. Because even though I have a negative 1 in parentheses, I have a positive 1 in my vertex. This k, though, is a positive 2. That does move my y value up 2, and so my vertex is a positive 2. So we're going to practice writing a few, graphing a few of these vertex. All right, so let's flip over to the back side. And if I'm looking at these three, I want to write down my vertex for each of these. Vertex. And so I do that by identifying H and K from that formula, right? My formula was x minus H squared plus K. That's my formula. And so I'm going to look inside here. I have a positive 2 inside my parentheses. I'm using the opposite of that for the x value. So I'm going to have negative 2. My K is a negative 5. I keep that one the same. So I'm going to write negative 5. So if you want to write yourself a note, change sign on H, keep sign on K. So if I'm looking at x minus 1, I don't want that minus 1 there. I'm going to use a positive 1. Keep the sign on your K. So a positive 3 translates to a positive 3 in that vertex. And my last one over here, I got negative H squared. Essentially, it's as if I had x plus 0 squared. There's nothing in there, right? And so my x value is actually a 0. My K value is still this positive 4, so I'm going to put plus 4. The one thing I do want to note here is that we have this negative sign at the front, which means that I'm going to flip my parabola upside down. It's going to open down. The other kind of tricky part, if I ever have a number in front, over here, that number in front, that's going to make my graph narrower, skinnier, because I have that 2 in front. If I had a fraction, it would make it wider, but since I have a 2, it makes it narrower. So let's see if we can find some matching graphs here. I want to find the equation that has the parabola has a vertex of negative 2, negative 5. I'm over here at negative 2, negative 5. Negative 2, negative 5 is down here. I'm looking to see if I have any other that I have negative 2, negative 5. Nope. This is my graph for negative 2, negative 5. All right, and then B, my vertex is at 1, 3, so I got to find which graph has a vertex at 1, 3. If I count to the right one and up 3, that would be right here. Here's my vertex at 1, 3, and it is narrower. It's skinnier than these other graphs. So yes, this is the graph for B. And my last one, my vertex is at 0, 4, but I'm now looking for a vertex that has a maximum. My graph opens downwards, and so that is, of course, this only one right here. I have a vertex of 0, 4, and it's opening downwards, so C goes to that graph down there. Let's practice graphing just a few on our own. So I have this equation, x plus 2 minus 4. That plus 2 changes to negative 2. Minus 4 stays the same, so I'm going to have a negative 4. And if it opens, I want to know, does it open up or down? I'm going to look in front of my graph, or front of my equation. If it doesn't have a negative, it opens up. It's going to be a normal U shape. It's only when there's a negative in front where I flip it around. So let's go ahead and graph that point, negative 2, negative 4. And draw just a nice little sketch of a U opening up. Nothing fancy. I don't need anything more than that. Just a nice quick sketch. The last one, I have a x minus 3 in parentheses. So my vertex is going to be a positive 3. And I got plus 1 as my K, so my vertex is going to have a positive 1. But there is this negative, which means that I flip my graph upside down. It opens downwards. So let's graph this point 3, 1, and draw my sketch downwards. All right, that is it. The assignment is on Edulastic today. So go to Clever and click on Edulastic and find your assignment on Vertex form.